And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to talk about Tom Brady joining the Buccaneers, the 5 year anniversary of that move. First of all, I can't believe it's been 5 years, but here we are. And yeah, this was a big deal. It was actually such a big deal that I wanted to bring up something that my friends did, and they came very close to being Bucs fans for the duration of the time um, that Tom Brady was a Buccaneer. So I forget where, I think they were at like a Buffalo Wild Wings, and they put together this contract that they all signed, and it said that if Tom Brady joined the Buccaneers, now this again before he signed with the Bucs, if Tom Brady went there, if Antonio Brown went there, and if they drafted J.K. Dobbins. So they ended up being, if all of that happened, they would have been Buccaneers fans the entire time he was with the Buccaneers. So they were a J.K. Dobbins away from abandoning their Giants and Jets fandoms and joining the Buccaneers. Could you and they tweeted about it, and actually Buffalo Wild Wings responded to their tweet because my friend tweeted out the contract. I'm surprised it didn't blow up the way it did. It didn't or it didn't really blow up that much. Thought it would get more traction, but I guess not. So yeah, they ended up not being Buccaneers fans because J.K. Dobbins ended up getting drafted by the Ravens. But this was a big deal. I mean, Tom Brady was one of those guys that you just thought was going to stay in the same uniform forever. When you look back at Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, those guys that ended up switching teams, you thought they were going to stay with the same team forever, and it just didn't happen. For different circumstances, of course, for each. But it's 2019. Patriots get knocked out by the Titans in the first round, and it seemed like things were not on the best of terms between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Obviously, things have changed now. Everything's water under the bridge. But Tom Brady was leaving New England, and where was he going to end up going? And you started hearing the Buccaneers. And it turns out that team just needed him to be the quarterback. They replaced Jameis Winston with him after Jameis Winston had that 30-30 season. And it also came during a time where, we mentioned the, again, microphone falling. It's happened a lot this week. But it came during a time where the world was shut down, essentially. So it was that whole year was just very strange. I hope something like that never happens again, but it was just very strange just having no fans. I mean, the hype around it was incredible because you're like, wow, we're going to have Tom Brady and Drew Brees in the same division. He's coming over to the NFC. How is this going to work out? And, he brings over Gronkowski. Gronkowski, comes out of retirement to play. They brought Antonio Brown in. They brought in Leonard Fournette. And I just remember that first game, the overreactions. Everyone's like, yep, he's made the wrong decision by signing with the Buccaneers. Should have just retired. And, it did take some time for the Buccaneers to kind of get going. I think it was after their bye week, they really started to round into form. And, once we got to the playoffs, you kind of had that feeling that this team is going to make a run, isn't it? And look at what they did. Now, I think the bigger reason why Tampa got to the Super Bowl and won it is because of their defense. But Brady played well in the postseason. And he was able to go and be part of a team that knocked off Drew Brees, knocked off Aaron Rodgers, who won the MVP, and then he knocked off Patrick Mahomes, who was trying to go for his second Super Bowl and try to win back-to-back before they eventually did it. It really was an unbelievable time. And then he followed it up with another great year in 2021 where you could make the argument he should have won the MVP over Aaron Rodgers. And I talked about it the other day. The playoff game against the Rams was airing the other day on NFL Network, and that was a great game. That was a great weekend of football. Um, Definitely looking back, would have liked to have seen Rodgers and Brady go at it in the championship game again. I would have wanted to see that. But instead, got Stafford against the 49ers. But I was happy that the Rams won that year. I was happy Stafford won that year. But then Brady announced his retirement. And he thought that was it. And honestly, probably better off he would have retired after the 2021 season. But then he came back for another year, and the Bucs weren't as good. Not all his fault, but Gronk went back into retirement. The offensive line wasn't very good. Bruce Arians now, was not on the sidelines. Todd Bowles took over as the head coach, and the team went 8-9. And then he ended up losing to the Cowboys in the playoffs. So yeah, I would have rather him just have gone out against the Rams, losing, coming back, and then, it took 2 throws by Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp to beat the Bucs. And the Bucs had a ton of injuries in 2021. They were missing a lot of guys. If they had their whole team, I mean, if Antonio Brown didn't walk off the field against the Jets, if Chris Godwin didn't, I think Chris Godwin tore his ACL that year. If they had their guys, their full complement of weapons, I mean, you can make the argument they could have repeated. But whatever. That time, that 3-year span in Tampa, that was really special. I mean, Buccaneers fans, they look at Tom Brady as an icon in Tampa forever for coming over and changing everything. It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and there's always, you're always going to see, people like when quarterbacks change teams now, that's all they're going to look at. Because, before that, it was Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with the Broncos. He went to 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos. Now, the second Super Bowl, that really was on the backs of the defense. But the first time they made it, Peyton Manning had the record-setting year, 55 touchdown passes, and then, the year after Brady won the Super Bowl with Tampa, you had Stafford getting traded over from the Lions to the Rams. And then, and he won a Super Bowl, and then Aaron Rodgers got traded to the Jets. And didn't really pan out. But I also wanted to bring this up. So, yes, Aaron Rodgers is going to be taking longer, but last week you had Adam Schefter say I think it was on the McAfee show, right? Make your decision already. Was the media back in the day, pressuring, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady the same way to make their decision on where they're going to sign or whether they're going to retire or not? And the same thing with Drew Brees. I don't understand why everyone is so. It has to do with it being impatient. That's definitely a huge thing. But were they doing the same thing to these guys to make a decision too? I don't think so. And look, that's me, kind of coming to the defense of Aaron Rodgers a little bit. But Tom Brady's making a decision. Were people saying make your decision already? I guess because you want to see what he does, but I don't think it was to the extent of what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. But now Aaron Rodgers is, taking longer because Brady signed his contract, Peyton signed his contract, Drew Brees made his decision on his retirement all around this time. So, and Rodgers could be making a decision after the draft. But it's a tough decision for these players. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different timelines. So, but I wanted to bring that up. But yeah, it was an interesting time with Tom Brady in Tampa. Because I'm so used to him just playing in New England. I never really thought about him leaving. And then when it happened, you're like, wow. And it was a special couple of years. The last year wasn't great, but the first 2, you won a Super Bowl. You put up an MVP. You put up MVP numbers the following season. got to the divisional round. You know, he could have kept playing. He could have. But hey, now he's got a lot of stuff going on. Now he's an owner. He's an analyst. So he's got plenty of things going on. But yeah, I don't know. Just figured I'd bring it up. 5 years. It's kind of a big deal, I guess. Also with the off season in the NFL kind of being slow, I wanted to revisit this and talk about it. So, but let me know what you guys think though about Tom Brady when he joined the Bucs. What was your favorite moment from that time? Could it be from when, if you're a Cowboys fan, knocking him off in his last game? If you're a Rams fan, if you're a Buccaneers fan and him taking you to the Super Bowl and winning it against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I'll tell you, when we finally got to see Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady match up against each other in the playoffs, I had a feeling that it was not going to go Rodgers' way. I just had a feeling that you just kind of, the writing in my opinion was kind of on the wall that it was going to be the Bucs that were going to come out on top. And when Tom Brady hit Scotty Miller basically on that Hail Mary to end the first half, the game was over. I almost went to bed. I almost said, you know what, I'm not watching this. I was in my my dorm room watching that game, and I really was just contemplating not watching the second half. But yeah, that happened. It is what it is. So yeah, no, I just thought we would revisit this because of the 5 year anniversary of this happening. So yeah, let me know what you guys think though about your favorite Tom Brady Buccaneer moment. How about when he was after they won the Super Bowl and they were at the parade and he throws the Lombardi Trophy to Gronk when they're all on the boats. Thankfully Gronk caught that. Otherwise, the Lombardi Trophy would have been, they would have had to get a dive team there to get it out. But yeah, so we're going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Bills. We will take a look at their season and talk about what they've done in the offseason so far as well. So for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.